I sit in the Scottish Parliament, I don't sit up at Westminster. I'm in the devolved Parliament, where the devolved powers are, and have a bit of knowledge of those. One of my portfolios, if you like, is housing. We have powers on housing already. I fought the SNP's budget recommendation to cut the housing budget in Scotland to 55%. We got that down to only 41%. So there are powers there already to address housing in Scotland. That is devolved. Regarding borrowing powers and our own bank and setting interest rates, well, I'm afraid, and I know there's a lot of yes campaigners here, and that's great, I respect everybody, of course. The SNP are proposing to keep the pound, stay in with the Bank of England, will set the interest rates, and obviously be the borrower of last resort. So that's what we have. So just try and see some of the smoke there. I'm proud to say I'm a borderer, a Scot and a Brit. I can't find any part of my roots to be anything else but Scottish on all sides, going back about 300 or 400 years, thanks to ancestry.co.uk. I can't speak for anybody else, but I know I only have to think back to the Olympics last couple of years just to remember how proud I felt about our athletes' performance and what huge that event meant to Scotland and I think Great Britain too. Michael also mentioned that obviously the Normandy landing. We've just had the 70th anniversary of that. Again, an emotional reminder of a shared history of nations within the United Kingdom. Personally, I don't actually buy into the notion of defining cultural identity, and that's why basing an argument for independence on the grounds of being Scottish or not doesn't sit comfortably with me, because the point is cultural identity can arguably be defined by many infinite numbers of characteristics. My genuine concern about obviously the SNP's position that even after all this time they have not answered the big issues on the economy, the currency that I mentioned there, public spending, debt, and of course oil revenues and their fluctuations. The white paper was said to answer all the questions on how independence would work, and I think it hasn't yet done that. We've got a rehash of some old manifesto promises and some uncosted assertions. But worse than that, in a cynical move to garner support for separation, the SNP stated that they were willing to give extra childcare provision, but that could only be achieved through independence. Now we know that down south of the border, it's something like 41% of 2-year-olds get childcare provision, when it's only 1 or 2% up here. The SNP actually turned on that, and to me they were effectively holding families and parents to ransom by telling us that Scotland will only get the better childcare if people vote for independence. Just a few weeks after that, they later agreed to fulfil that very policy. At the moment, Scotland has a strong position, I believe, within the UK partnership of nations. We still have the pound, we still have EU membership, we still have the broad shoulders of the UK, which allow us to work together in the world and make our own decisions on education, NHS, energy, and housing. I think with the best of both worlds. I recently visited a farming business, it was, in the borders, employed over 230 people, turned over 50 million or so per year. They sell their 3/4 of their foodstuffs with the Union Jack on and 1/4 with the saltire on. In their own words, they said that they would have to move south of the border to set up business so that they could keep the home market of England. That to me is quite concerning. Also, I've got concerns regarding the forces and defence. The forces, as we know, the Scots have been a proud and very large percentage of the British forces. And regarding defence, well, we have 2 aircraft carriers being assembled at the moment in Rosyth, employing many people, and we've never, ever in the history of the UK had a UK battleship built out with Scotland, out with the UK, I should say. Voters, I think, deserve clarity on all of these issues if they're to make an informed choice later this year. Just as we have to make the detailed case for remaining as part of the UK, then I think it's up to us to also make the case for staying in the UK. I think what's absolutely critical is this debate moves forward. Campaigners on both sides of the debate owe it to everyone to put forward positive and clear arguments. So what about if there is a no vote? A failure to present any alternative vision, I think, to separation would be a failure to talk about more powers for the Scottish Parliament. But it would also represent a huge disservice to the Scottish people. I think this is crucial. At the moment we have SNP and the Greens, of course, saying that it's independence or bust, and I don't think that's the case. We as Liberal Democrats have been leading the way in setting out how the Scottish Parliament could have more powers, and since then there's been a growing consensus, even from the Conservatives and Labour, that this is the right way forward. So I think it's right we should be offering voters a real alternative to independence, more powers, but still within the safety of the UK. So we want a system of government which allows for the expression of different identities within one system, but combines with the additional influence and strength which comes from cooperation and common purpose. We argue for a distribution of powers among the nations of the United Kingdom for joint action where that's necessary and effective, and for parliaments and assemblies across the UK to have substantial democratic choice and opportunity, combined with the responsibility that comes from significant financial powers. This is a federalist approach which would give a massive transfer of financial and constitutional power, and it is gathering support from a wide range of bodies and thinkers. Under our plans, Scotland would be allowed to thrive with fiscal responsibility and authority, but that settlement can only be stable if it forms part of a move to a more true federal United Kingdom. Now that might be a discussion around independence, I think has actually given us a real opportunity to achieve more powers for Scotland, but retaining the benefit and the safety of staying in the UK. So, thank you.